Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
All right, guys. So everyone loves a good slasher, and we recently checked out a great one, Founders Day. And with us to talk about it is the two writers, Carson and Erik Bloomquist. And Erik actually directed this one. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
So,
very glad you guys could come on because we both love the film. So we always love. It's always such a bonus when we see something that we love, and then we're like, oh, good, and now we can talk to people who made it.
Yeah,
Well,
I have
we
a lot of good questions about this one.
If you hated it, we'd hash it out too anyway.
So before we get started on the actual movie, can you tell us a little bit about yourselves and kind of how you got into filmmaking?
Yeah. We're Connecticut born and raised. Erik and I used to do home movies when we were young and skits even, and we would do
Like sleepovers, family functions.
Yeah, just kind of like make it up on the night, and we'd have our camcorder and kind of those quintessential kids making movies when we were young and figuring it out. I think it was like an early thing that people would say like, one day you're going to do it, and sure enough, we've been steadily doing it for the last decade or so.
Who said that? Who
Friends. We had some friends saying that.
Yeah, we had friends. Put it on record.
That's awesome. Yeah. So did you like I feel like you guys have done a bunch of stuff too. You guys I saw one funny thing that I guess that Erik, that you were winner of the Dancing with the Stars Connecticut. Is that what I read?
There was a fundraiser a few years ago at a theater in Connecticut, and I think they pulled, I think that was the year that I was on a Connecticut magazine 40 under 40 list, and I think they pulled from some of that and some other places, and they paired up with some professional dancers to raise money for a charity in Connecticut, and I won.
Nice.
I won. Yeah,
that's a good thing to have on the resume.
It is. Just so I have I don't know if it's a cheat, but I have a pretty big musical theater background that I fortunately still get to tap into sometimes, but not as much as I want to. So it's a nice little footnote in the in the bio, just so that people know that I can do that sometimes.
Can dance like a demon.
Can dance like a demon.
See, I had to bring it up. I saw that. I'm like, okay, I got to bring this up. It's something cool. I mean, someone who like myself who can't dance for anything. In fact, I always make a joke because when I was getting married, my wife and I, we took someone gifted us some Arthur Murray dance lessons.
Nice,
and
nice.
In about 5 minutes, I said I invented my own show, which was called Dancing with the Scars, as I continue to kick my poor wife's shins and feet with the thing. So yeah, so that's about my dancing skills. But so let's get into Founders Day though, because this was such a fun movie. One of our friends, I guess, had seen it in the theater before us even, and so he was raving about it. So I'm super glad we got to finally see it. So what was the inspiration that you guys had in coming up with the idea for this?
We were always very inspired by slasher movies of our youth. We always point to Scream. Hard not to. A very formative movie for us, and one that exposed us to a lot of horror movies too. But we had this. We are trying to kill a bug in our car. Sorry. We had this love of that film, and also the idea of an autumnal murder mystery, small town, based on our own roots, and we sort of generated this. We had a first draft of it over a decade ago and did a concept trailer for it, and that was the beginning of it, and it's just evolved since then.
I'll caveat, like I often do with the Scream thing, that we're not trying to do what Scream did, but we're trying to conjure feelings that it conjured in us. Ultimately, like this just sense of mischief and playfulness, and something creeping in on the margins of a community.
Yeah, I remember when we first saw that, we saw it at home, rented it from the library, just some like cold winter afternoon, and it was one of those things where you were like, oh, should we be doing this right now? Is this Is this like
one
out of our
one hand on the remote in case it got too scary to change it to like so put it on like normal TV and
yeah, that feeling inspired us.
oh man, I want to do that again.
I know. Me too. Yeah, it's inspired us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting you said that because Tim and I both we we chatted, we're like, oh yeah, we definitely got the vibes, and not like it was, like you said, almost it was like the feeling that you would get from Scream came across
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But
They
also
do I mean, we're not trying to do the movie like the
Meta.
commentary movies or like winking that we know we're a movie. I mean, they do that masterfully. That's not what we need to do. We wanted to make something that was like I mentioned, that core of mischief, but we kind of we explore we have more of a cynical streak maybe in some ways, and we have more of an absurdist streak in some ways. Like these characters are strange.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
a question about the characters coming up because we love that. But and you know what was interesting too is you had like that's a very good mix of like this like 90s kind of slasher vibe, but also with a little bit of 80s where it's like a holiday kind of a thing, kind of thing,
Yeah.
which was big in the 80s when Tim and I were our horror formative years. Like you could not like look in a video store and not see every single holiday almost represented.
Right.
So it's interesting. So when I
100%.
saw that, I liked that you managed to capture the feelings of both 90s nostalgia and 80s nostalgia for me.
Thank you. I think in some ways that was the holiday piece was almost inadvertent. I mean, obviously it's a central piece of the movie, but we didn't think of it as it's been branded a holiday slasher since we've been in festivals, but we've loved that, and we've certainly sunk into that. But it just seemed like we didn't Founders Day predated like some of the renaissance of like the holiday slashers as of late, like the initial draft. We just like that there was a central town.
It's like a communal gathering festival, and that is Founders Day here. But I think in the the doing of it and evolving kind of what the story was, it felt like the idea of holiday horror kind of made it all click in a really interesting way.
And I think that, I mean, the holiday component, it's a heightened context. So you have everything feels a little more life or death,
right?
Especially when it is life or death.
Ah.
That's awesome.
So I wanted to talk about the mask because
Yeah.
slasher always has to have a cool killer mask, right? So how did that come about? I mean, I know the wig, kind of the founding fathers type thing. I get that, but the actual mask itself, where did that idea come from?
The mold of Eric's face.
No, it's not.
We worked with Tony Gardner's company Alterian on the mask, and he's behind so many iconic
amazing artist Josh Schneider.
Yeah,
did the mold,
and they just knocked it out of the park. But it was conceptually this tragedy mask that was both, it was grinning on one side, frowning on the other, and that sort of was representative of this like political theater type of thing we were going for, and we wanted it to feel like this aged leather thing that you might find in some drama box at the school or something that's been there for a while. And the idea of red, this like deep blood red, but also political red,
America,
very correct for the character. So we gave them our vision, and they added their vision to that, and it kind of became what it became, and we think it's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a unique, creepy mask. It was creepy and but like also like there was like this hint of like kind of like silliness with with the wig, but everything, but it still managed to be very effective.
The wig ended up framing the face really nicely, especially with being red, so that there is like a hairline and outline.
Yeah.
But the movie is somewhat theatrical, and we wanted the kills and the killer to be somewhat theatrical too. But the wig is definitely a big statement piece, but something that we think is unique to this movie. I don't see a lot of killers with wigs. So I will say highly impractical if you are planning to go on a murder spree. That wig comes off pretty easily. We have some very funny outtakes in the archives.
Nice. And actually we both it kind of goes into our next question too. So we both thought the gavel as a weapon was a nice touch, but what can you tell us about the really fantastic kills that this film had?
Team sport. Yeah, team. That's a good way to put it. We had a lot of ideas of how we wanted to go about certain things and use certain locations. I'll point to the movie theater as one, and just try to exploit it as much as we could, um, and have that sort of dual functionality that it has with the blade to be a fun, extra level of like sinister, to it. So, we thought through that, there's bludgeoning, there's stabbing, there's, it's even utilizing like other objects too. But we wanted it to feel, obviously like violent, of course. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Like,
There were a couple specifically that we really wanted to sink into, that are particularly brutal, I think. One in a movie theater, one where there's potentially more than one victim. And so in order to do that, we talked with, I mean, it's everybody. It's production design, it's costumes, it's special effects, it's assistant director, it's all of it to figure out how can we do this? How do we shoot it in a way where like we can shoot somebody's coverage while someone else is in the chair getting a wound put on them, and and when we can, but what can we cheat? Because in the indie world, unfortunately, we don't have days upon days upon days to do a kill scene. It's more contained than that. So we had to figure out where we could get crafty without the seams showing. So that was just a lot of conversations in the lead up.
For sure.
And then the ones where we really were going to prioritize like the spectacle and as much blood as possible versus suggesting something. But I think we were pretty clear on our priorities for that, which then informed the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so clever too, because the gavel, just the sight of a gavel coming down is, guilty or something like that is already a sinister enough kind of weapon, and it could be, and the fact that you made a spike on the other end is just, to me, it was like one of those brilliant choices.
It's not fair.
One's very blunt, one is very, very sharp. So I think that it.
Yeah, that was great. So without giving any spoilers, I won't give any spoilers, but there are a lot of misdirections and red herrings and twists and turns in this movie. Did you guys always intend this to be kind of a bit of a murder mystery like other classic slashers have done, or did it ever start out as something different?
Totally from the onset. The ending came before anything else, and the ending evolved from the first draft for sure. But I think the heartbeat of the ending has always stayed the same.
Yeah.
Which I could speak to in a spoiler conversation, but we definitely built backwards in a lot of ways because we like the multiple reveals and I've used the Russian nesting doll analogy before, but this
things you pull back from
as you pull back, you reveal more and more in the frame that you didn't know was there. And I think that's kind of the ultimate magic trick.
Yeah, one of our favorite things to see and most inspiring things is a mystery. It's mischief, it's intrigue, the idea of speculating and not being able to fully figure something out. Like you can really just dig into a movie in an interesting way when you have that murder mystery at the core. So we knew we always wanted to do it that way too.
Yeah, I think
I thought it was super effective.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because these days slashers just can't be the old school slashers of just, and there's got to be that other element to keep people, looking. Yeah, I mean, you want the kills, but you also want something else to bring you in. I think you guys did that so marvelously with the way you pulled that story in, and you constantly had yourself, yourself guessing. So there's no way you could like kind of zone out watching this movie. You're constantly focused. You're like, okay, where's this going now? How is this going to happen now? So I thought that was really well done.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the ensemble has a lot to do with that too. And it's like, how are these two people going to relate to each other? Like who's sussing who and what's somebody really thinking? We like the pulpy drama of that. I mean, this is an mix of like 90s teen show meets like contemporary movie meets like kind of like dark cynical thriller. So it's you take the intrigue from all of those things, and I think it makes an interesting cocktail.
Yeah, and also about kind of in regards to that, so like I said, most slashers, especially the early on ones, just a batch of disposable characters that you could care less about, really. You're just waiting to see who's going to be the final girl or whatever. With this one, though, this movie is filled with like some of the most interesting, like zany, sometimes even outlandish just characters, and it made it so incredibly fun to watch what was coming out. And from the drunk mayor, which I always love a drunk mayor. I don't know why in a movie. I just love that. The I guess the police chief, she's always got like grabbing candy or putting something in her mouth. And just her like inflections, the way she speaks was just so incredible.
She was great.
Oh my God. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that actress before and I'm like, she's incredible. Like I love like every time she was on the scene. And the mayor I've seen, the one she played, she was in a Brain Scan, which is one of my favorite movies from years ago. And I thought, and when I saw her, I'm like, why does she look familiar? When I looked it up, I was like, oh, okay. And she was great in it. And just, I mean, like you didn't have one character that you didn't invest yourself in some way. And I think that was such a testament to like the writing you guys did on that, because normally like, like I said, it's like you don't care. So, but like, so what, when you're going into that, like, how did you come up with all these just all these crazy, interesting characters?
Well, thank you, because that's as intended. So I'm glad that translated for you. We wanted it to be like these characters that are a wide range of different kinds of blowhards and more grounded people and people who don't necessarily go together normally, and what happens when you do. So
yeah, I mean it's an ensemble through and through, and it is indicative, I think, of like honestly like small towns or any town in America. Like you're gonna run into types and
personalities that don't mesh.
And that don't mesh, and everybody like kind of in the same space dealing with the same problem is really interesting to us. But there's certain particular things and isms and characterizations that we wanted to explore. There's something like with the police chief that there's just a unique, like almost like Chief Wiggum-esque quality.
It's Kojak.
Meets Kojak, meets Columbo. And Kate Curtin, who plays that so expertly, is convinced she's going to solve the case, and that's exactly how we wanted to play it. Like she's convinced she's going to do it, and she thinks she does.
We wanted to find this very, very, very peculiar balance there, and she's like, when we talked about that a lot, how to calibrate that so that like it was just so like, huh? When you watch it, it's so like, and we tried to do that in our own way with everybody. Interestingly enough, when the political aspect was added, when Carson threw that onto the radar, it added definition to several characters too, because in these movies, when it is an ensemble thing, being like, okay, it's so-and-so's dad, it's so-and-so's mom. It's like, no, now it's the mayoral candidate who is so-and-so's dad. Now it's the other mayoral candidate who is so-and-so's mom. And that adds, I think, just much more specificity to it all. And then you have characters like, I mean, we can speak briefly like Britt and Tyler for a second, who like are definitely there in a lot of ways as comedic relief and are ridiculous. I'm the alpha, I'm the apex predator guy. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson, I've learned my lesson, girl.
That line, by the way, that one cracks me up. But I've watched it a couple times.
I'm glad.
She just because she delivers it so awkwardly and so like half insincerely, but she like, you could tell like that's the first time she's like almost like, oh shoot, I might be in a little trouble, but like again, I'm still like this badass girl, I don't care.
Well, I think that's the thing, is like we're making a joke. I mean, there are people like that who are actually like that disconnected from reality. Of course this is like somewhat like hyperbole and heightened and whatever. Like, I mean, we didn't make like a kitchen sink drama naturalistic movie. Like these people are like hot air balloons, but at the same time, I mean, Carson, what did you say? Like they're like loosely based on like some people that like we and I think a lot of people knew in like middle school. Like, what did you say?
All right, fine. I'll say it. Like I mean, like these archetypes from high school that I kind of knew and are heightened in an interesting way, because I knew girls in high school that like
their sole personality
trait. Their sole personality trait, as I've said, is eating hot Cheetos and saying the word fuck.
And it's like, so and on that note, like actually Britt and Tyler aren't that far off, and in fact they might be like more grounded.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I got some Twin Peaks vibes from, I don't know about you, Brian, but Brian and I are huge Twin Peaks fans. So I definitely got some of that vibe too.
Yeah, because the zany town characteristic thing is always just love that. Think back to Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And the peculiarities of it, I think for sure that there are just these quirks, these like might put your finger on it quirks.
Yeah, it was great. So Brian and I both have siblings. Actually, both have brothers. So I have to ask you what it's like working with your brother and collaborating during a film.
We haven't spoken since we shot. This is our first time together.
Crazy. It's good.
The reunion, you're getting the reunion special.
Yeah. It's a gift to be able to get along and be on the same wavelength the way we are. I know, like, not every sibling has that, so we're fortunate to have that closeness and that we agree on a lot of things. And through this, we've built a lot of trust and built a lot of understanding. Sometimes if there's conviction on something, we have a conversation and we're willing to defer to the person who maybe like has that extra little conviction about doing something a certain way. And you know, I have his back, he has my back. It's
I think
special,
I think there's an implicit understanding that we both know that we're what we're making. Like we can tell that we're on the same page tonally, which allows that vision to get more like
Okay.
clearly communicated to others who are doing stuff with us. I really enjoy wearing both hats for the acting and directing, but I feel like I can direct well within a scene just by setting a tone with how I'm playing things. But it's great and like necessary that Carson like knows, watches me and watches the whole thing and monitor. Very, very important to have that trust.
Well,
Yeah, I
you
totally
guys are
get that.
good.
Yeah,
You led right into the next question, but I'll let Tim say his comment.
No, I was just saying. I mean, I totally get that because my brother and I, we find the same things funny. We find ourselves like, I guess some siblings are complete opposites, but as far as my younger brother goes, we're very much on that same wavelength, and that's got to be a benefit when you're trying to create, like you said, a joint vision or whatever for a movie. But yeah, I'll let Brian go ahead, but I completely understand that kind of brother wavelength thing. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, you guys led in perfectly. Next question. I was gonna say, like, was it tricky for you? Most obviously for Erik, because you did direct it and you were acting in it and already. So, but I guess so. Was there any challenges, or was it pretty, like you said, pretty easy now because you did have your brother there, kind of there along the way, helped write it and co-wrote it and everything, and did all that stuff.
It's always challenging, but I think
Always
we've got a
is.
flow.
Yeah, I mean, we have a confidence that we know some things aren't going to go a certain way, but when they do, we'll be able to manage it. Which is, I think, the best place you can be, because no matter what, no matter how well prepared you are, and we are, you'll be surprised by something. So yeah, always challenges. But we kind of welcome it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say, Erik, your character expressions you make when the mayor starts going off the rails had me. I was hysterical just because that look. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to damage control this thing?
Yeah.
That was great.
My whole 5-year plan goes up in flames.
Yeah.
All right, so I have to ask this because Brian and I are definitely big fans of this film. Are there any plans for a sequel?
Well, we never envisioned it as such. We've been asked here and there about it, and I think our answer is we know what we would do if we did one. We don't know if we will or when or how, but we have ideas of what form that would take, and that's sort of solidified a little more recently.
Yeah. It'd be different, but it'd be Founders Day. It'd be cool. It'd be cool.
Nice.
Nice.
That makes us feel good, because now we know that it's out there, and we'll just keep posting it on social media every day. When's Founders Day 2 coming out? No. Yeah. No, but that's exciting that you actually have an idea if you decide to go forward with it. I think a lot of people are going to want it, though, because I think once people start really, I think it comes out next week around on VOD or something. I think everyone will probably be like hooked on this. So is there anything else you guys are working on that you could talk about that's not Founders Day 2 quite yet?
we have a couple scripts that are done. We're finishing up another one, and working on getting a couple of things placed right now, and probably going back within our model at some point later this year. It's been a huge undertaking with Founders Day and the release and all that, but we haven't been up in production
for a while.
since then, which was late 2022. So we're itchy. We're really itchy, but just trying to make sure that all our ducks are in a row. But we're definitely kind of like deep in the writing and story phase and finding some old pieces and figuring out what makes sense where. So the answer is yes, we have stuff, and hopefully we'll be having another conversation.
Nice. Well, keep us
Very
posted.
Nice. Yeah, keep us posted. So I want to keep us on time here. So finally, where can our listeners find this film? Because I want everybody to see this.
As of this recording, it is on pre-sale on Apple TV right now. So that would be the best place to go right now, so you have it the instant that it becomes available.
But it'll be
available on the day. It'll be available on digital, and I think on most major platforms for buy rent. And then it'll be on Blu-ray on June 4th. And I'll say
that early. Cool. Awesome.
We got some cool features on that.
We've got more bonus features than we do dead bodies in the movie. So if you're into the movie and want to know some stuff, definitely get that Blu-ray.
Yeah,
nice. But Tim and I are huge
we're
physical media
guys,
fans. I will definitely be picking up that Blu-ray. In fact, it'll be we do a monthly episode called the Disc Memberment, where we go through all the upcoming Blu-rays. So we're looking forward to when we see that on the list there. We can
it's on
pre-order.
It's on pre-order now. A lot of people have been snatching it, I think. So definitely.
Oh, nice.
Definitely.
I'm gonna have to.
It's on Amazon right now for pre-order.
Then I know what I'll be doing immediately when we sign up.
Great.
I will be pre-ordering it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I mean, like Brian said, I mean, we love talking to filmmakers regardless, but when we absolutely love the movie, it's even a more special bonus. So again, really appreciate you guys taking the time out to talk about the movie, and I hope everyone that's listening gets a chance to see it.
Thanks, man. Thank you for picking up what we're putting down. We really appreciate it.